Okay, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good, good. Oh, hello.
Hi, Nick.
You hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. I wasn't sure if the mic was on
Yeah, no, we're good.
because I'm looking. I don't see it.
Okay, so it's 9 o'clock, and there may be a few more people rolling in as we start this, but let's begin. So, welcome, and this is a joint session of the Meetup and the SimCom community meeting. And what we will do is so what what we'll do is we will review attendee buys, sells they've done recently. We'll take a look at some breakout stocks, and then we'll also take a look at some of the best performing picks that have been shared in the videos. See how they're doing, and then we'll finish up with some momentum stocks that are out there that you can take a look at. Just a couple of people coming. So yeah, a couple of more stocks that you can look at as we go into the next couple of weeks. And we'll actually also take a, we'll finish up with maybe the market. Okay, so that's the agenda. All right, so let me put that to one side. Just minimize this. All right, so let's start with the attendee buys and sells. Did anybody buy anything in the last month or so? No buys. Did anybody sell anything? Any profits taken? No sales. Okay, so
So, Parmajet, I bought NVO, New, and Trex over the last month. Well, and they seem to be going up pretty good. And then I got stopped out on TQQ a couple of times, so that was a problem.
Take a pilot entry in ANET and PEN after earning.
Okay. All right, I'm not gonna remember all that. Can you guys just put your tickers in the chat and I'll pick them up from there. And then let's take a quick look at each one. Or I can just come back to them. Okay, so Gary, let's start with NVO, right? So you bought it in the last month, so this is a weekly chart. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So roughly out of this breakout, maybe. So that's actually a good, healthy position. So you're up about 14% and then some. Okay, so what attracted you to this one? It's got a nice trend. Gary, you mute. Okay, maybe on mute. Let me go to one of these other ones, TQQ. So overall uptrend, a nice pullback here. Another opportunity from here to here. On the weekly, it's been pretty smooth sailing. That's almost 50% gain. You bought at the end of that week. To the close, 56%. And you would, if you use the weekly, you'd still be in the stock. So that's still performing pretty good. And a wide move this week though. But on low volume, which could have shaken you out. Yeah. Possible shakeout. there, but it recovered the next week. So there's a couple of places where you possibly could have gone shaken out, but the trend is still strong in this one, for now anyway. So the only risk here is at the moment is this little resistance. Stock needs to get up above that pretty soon. Okay, was that guide tracks? So this one's got a nice uptrend, deep pullback. Little volume here on the downtrend, but then fully recovers back here. So this would have been your potential entry back in. So that's a nice 50% move as well. So you got two 50%ers right there. Okay, then I heard ANET. So this is one of our featured stocks. Okay, so this is probably earnings right here. Overall, you can see the stock's in a very strong uptrend, right? And this one we've discussed in other meetings where we've looked at this one and from a canceling kind of rules basis, it's been difficult to handle. There's only been like one real good run. This recent one's been pretty good as well. Let's break out here. Almost 40%. But prior to these ones, it was a bit choppy. And so we looked at other ways of entering this and holding it. But this certainly is one of the strongest stocks out there. So this low and this bounce back. Let's have a look at the volume. It's high volume, not a lot of volume. So we'll have to see what this bounce back looks like to see if it can hold. So did you enter on after earnings or after the earnings report? Not sure, quite sure where your entry was, but
yes, after earnings. Sorry, I was on mute. I just think that it's a slightly overblown, right? So, like I said, it's a pilot position. Really wanted to kind of push through about the high of that second day candle. We had more, but I felt that it was a little overblown, so I started with a few shares.
Yeah, no worries. So it came down to the 50-day.
Yep.
Yeah.
It did pull back somewhere around. I think 260 was my entry. I didn't really pick it all the way bottom, but yeah, somewhere around that.
Yeah. Okay. So you're up a little bit, but that's good. Okay. What was your other one? Yeah, you had two, right?
Yeah, CrowdStrike, same thing. I think it's the other one I actually had mentioned was ANET.
So we just looked at we looked at ANET.
The same thing on this one. I think this sort of went in a sympathy of that CrowdStrike. So I picked it up around 290, I think, 292, I think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Again, few. I like the close there. I like the close there. So yeah. Pan had a bit of a weaker close though. And ANET. Yep, right there. It closed right on that day, closed on the low today. So I actually, waited. Yep.
Okay. So where did you pick this one up? Around the 260, 70 mark?
That one I actually had a standing order around 260, right? In a pre-market, it was quite low. Yeah. And this I studied, night before, and I felt that it was. And also, if you look at it, you know, the reason I picked 260 is if you go back a few months back in September, October, it sounds like there's a sound base right there. Yeah, if you draw on the top of around 260, if you just draw a line around 260, right? There was a bit of a support there, right? Look at the large candle sometimes in late June last year. Yeah, exactly. So and it was just about 200 there, right? So I thought might be a safe bet. Again, pilot.
Yeah. Okay, that's actually a good buy because you got the that's actually the 50-week moving average,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
multiple support zones.
Yeah.
You just bounce right off it.
yeah, it's a pilot.
Yeah.
There's a long way to go.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so this might be a little frothy in the weeks ahead, but sometimes they get overdone, and it takes like the institutions like 3 or 4 days to figure out
Yeah.
the
I have a stop loss, I
result.
think about 4% below that. So if I'm out, I'm out. No big deal.
Right. 200. One's about 12% away. So you're up about here. Okay, just below that average.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's
This is definitely not canceling
yeah, that's
entry.
fine.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
Just...
We go wider than just canceling. That's fine. Because some of the
Okay.
some of the non-canceling entries are actually a lot better profitable because you can get cancelled. I mean, because going back to ANET, right, for example. Let me just blow this up a bit. If we go. Right. So here ANET is just chopping, right? And you kind of got top of the resistance bar around 141. So potentially you got a breakout bar there. So this run here would have, you would have probably gotten in, but you'll be down here, but that's fine. Now this run would have taken you up to about 17, so never quite got to the 20%. And then if you were using, so you wouldn't have taken your 20, then you would have given it back, and then it drops into another little base again. So now that bar would have undercut you, so you're now in a loss. So that one wouldn't have worked. And then potentially you got another little breakout that would have gotten you in, even though the volume wasn't spurred there, right? So immediately into a loss. And then again here. So if you've gotten in about there, a little run, about 8%, then it chops sideways. And this week here, you're down below your 8% intra week. So you could have gotten shaken out here. But if you weren't in it, you had a little double bottom pattern that you could have taken an entry around here. So that the last one of all of them has probably been the best entry was this bar here. But either way, this is a strong stock. Alternatively, if you had just bought this, I mean, we've been tracking this for quite a while, since 22. So if you had bought this around here, and then you set your stops below, you'd still be in it. So Yeah, I think it behooves you to take a look at alternative entries, especially where the charts make sense. Okay. All right. I think I missed one. Were there any other buys or sells?
Well,
Okay.
I mentioned new, NU, and that was about, 5 weeks ago, I guess, something like that.
MU Micro.
I think I'm up about 14% on that one too.
So you bought this around. $9% there. Okay. So Gary, roughly where did you buy this at? You're about 45%. Why did you bought it in this area here? So 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so
Okay,
you
I
were
bought it at 8.98 on 110.
eight. I mean, looking at the same stock. MU, are you talking about MU or
Oh, NU.
N? N. I was going to say that chart doesn't make sense. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another 950. Okay. So the breakout would have been around here, just above 9. You would have. Okay. There was a challenging week around here, but still finishes strong for the end of the week. That would have kept you in if you followed that rule. Now you got a little, not quite a railroads, but it's
Yeah,
tight
I ended up
finishes.
with,
Yeah.
right now I'm sitting at about 14%. So it's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yep. So this is Banks Global. Okay. All right.
It's, yeah, it's interesting. It's a South America, Central America, I guess, is sort of like a credit card and other, sort of like a SoFi of South America.
Mhm.
Sort of interesting.
Okay. So it IPO not long ago, right?
Not too long ago, no.
Yeah. So this one may be worth taking a look, because usually underlying cancel them, they want it above $10 for the first base to be legit. But since it's an IPO, which is it positive? Let's look. Slightly still operating cash flow is still negative. But might be worth taking a look at this. Yeah.
I think it was flagged with a Summit leaders list that I looked at back in October, and I kept watching it.
Mm-hmm. The leaders list that we used
So I didn't
for
really
the
pick that
basket.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's got a strong
And
trend, right? Yeah.
right.
Not to strength.
So it really didn't get picked up on a screen. I mean, it was
Right.
because of the basket that was
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is everybody familiar with the leaders basket that Gary's talking about? Actually, last time I did put out a quick video on it. Look, for those of you not familiar with it, we have a YouTube channel, and so on there post usually 2 or 3 short videos and sometimes long videos. So that was an update last night on the leaders basket. The leaders basket is now up 37.3 because we've had a couple of adjustments to it as well. So that's the return so far. So if you're interested, you can just go to the channel Sensor 360 Investor. I'll put this in the chat, Sensor 360 Investor, and then you can watch all sorts of fun stuff in there. Let me put that chat. YouTube. Yeah, that's that leaders basket is a good source of ideas, strong momentum stocks. Okay, so let's carry on to the next segment. Let's take a look at some breakouts that have occurred. And the breakouts, I haven't done videos on the breakouts for the channel, but I figured that one I could say for the live meetings. So let's just take a look at some recent breakouts. So these are the breakouts. So these are some of the breakouts that you probably would have seen. So here's a breakout, UV insurance company. Chart's a bit messy, so chances are you may not, unless you're specifically looking at insurance, you may not pick this up. But now that it's gone up above this level here, and I think that one of the better ways to buy these breakouts, unless you got in on the breakout itself, is wait for pullbacks, and we'll take a look at a few of those opportunities. Discover financial services. So this one had, and this is quite a good breakout, gapped up earnings, knocks out the top of the space. Again, chart's not strong momentum to trending upwards, but sometimes when they're deep like this, it's usually a trend change.
Well,
so you can get in
well,
earlier.
this is a play on, I think Capital One's trying to buy them.
Possible
I think Capital
M&A.
One was, yeah.
So I'm looking at Citigroup adjust price target to 160. So the price targets are still much higher than where it's trading. Capital One proposed acquisition offer here, says the BBC. $3 billion acquisition. So whatever that is on a per share basis. So they have 250 million shares outstanding. I don't have my calculator nearby. So you could just take 250 million, multiply it by 120, say, and then we can see where it comes out at. Yeah, that's a good point. So it's always check the news before you jump into these. But again, yeah, this one I got picked up because of charts too choppy. Iron Mountain. So this one, more of a traditional stock. Actually, this one's, if you want stability, so they're into like paper recycling and all that stuff, paper waste. This is actually a pretty good trend. And now it's gone up to high ground here. Have to wait for a little pullback to enter that. Let's have a look at some others. Garmin. So again, so this is what I was talking about. Sometimes you won't pick these up because like on CanSlim type of screeners, because this would fail on the relative strength, it would fail on the RS rating. But a lot of times the turnarounds are very profitable if you know how to kind of look for those and handle those. So here we see a downtrend, then the stock bottoms out here. You got a inverse head and shoulders in here. So there's the entry right here. Stock move sideways, then the explosive move out. Little consolidation. So had you picked it up back there, that's 35% on something that been reasonably flat against the market. So if you're looking for fast moving stocks, this wouldn't have cut it. But if you're looking for stuff that you can get in, build a position slowly, and you don't have to worry about too much fluctuation, stuff like this, a chart pattern like this is actually useful. So here you can see after this breakout, a lot of accumulation. Then we get a little pullback, and so that one finishes low. So through here, you can see that the volume is actually below average, apart from that one week here. That tells you, and then you had lower volume the following week. So that tells you wasn't really a big sell-off occurring in there. Okay, so on a pullback, that could be interesting. Let's have a look at a few more. Quanta sources. So again, this one, you had a nice uptrend. You had a very symmetrical cup. There was the cup breakout here, which obviously didn't follow through. And then it goes on to a base next to this base. And then this breakout, obviously, is pretty explosive. Relative strength. It's almost there. It would have been better if this was a little bit higher above that peak, but and the volume wasn't as let's look at the daily on this. So on the breakout day, volume's pretty good. Okay, that's fine. On the weekly, it just looks slightly less than what we want. So that one is pretty good. And home builders are all the rage. So again, this is coming off a little downtrend, trend change. You got a nice little base in here, moves up. This flat base doesn't work out, comes back down to support. Massive move off support. You got to cut this around here, then consolidates again. And now we've got another fresh breakout. So this one went sideways here. This one obviously continued. This one came down. So you just have to manage your position. But the trend is very strong to the upside. And depending on where you put your stop, will be critical. So if you had entered here, yeah, so you probably have to manage this like at least a 10% stop. So a couple more. Live Nation. Okay, so this price-wise, there was a breakout, but it didn't really hold, so technically it wouldn't qualify. Nice systems. So again, this is choppy, is not really going anywhere. The pullbacks. Then you got this reversal. And now we've got the fresh uptrend starting to take place. So we did have a little pause here. Sideways digestion from the lows. And it's moving up. So some constructive elements here, but maybe a little early to think about this one. But it's right on the money though. It's just trying to take out these long-term interim highs here. If you're lucky and get a pullback, that might be the ticket. Yeah, we'll look at one more breakout of this, and there's been a ton of breakouts. We'll look at some others from earlier. And then we have Walmart. Walmart's been moving up. Not as strong as the S&P move. We'll pull back here. Find support, 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 support. Move up, and now we got a little gap up. Couldn't hold the high of the day though, or high of the week, I should say. but this is a big stock, right? It's one of the, not in terms of necessarily in cap, but in terms of revenue, it's right up there in the top 5. All right, so let's have a look at some earlier ones. So at the beginning of January, I think it was Jan 5th was the week. So this week here, we'll give a little breakout right there. Moves up about 15%, then that's popped back in. Relative chart. Trending up. Okay, so this one wouldn't have worked out too good. SMCI. So this was Jan 12th. And this is something we've played a number of times. So Jan 12th is about here. Yep. So we got a breakout. It's a box in a box. It went crazy up to this point, 20%. Sitting at 145%. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's getting really choppy here, wide. Let's take a look at staying in January. So we'll just do the Jan ones. Draft King. So this one was on Jan 19th, so they'll be right here. Strong accumulation, top 20%. So this one would give you, this one obviously would have given you 20% gains. That'd be a winner. A few more. SML. So this one was on Jan 26th. That's right there. So here you can see a cup and handle in this case, clear breakout from that level. And you're up 20%, where you can think about how you want to handle that one. So that one's worked. Netflix, also in January. So this was the same week, right there, 26th. Breakout of this little flat base. Now it's forming another little flat base, so it's 13% up for Netflix. And one more, round it off. For these are all the Jan breakouts that I had logged. AppF, Jan 26th. Again, this one's a little kind of almost straight up. It's not quite straight up on the bottom, but certainly a big reversal. That would be earnings. So if you were looking at this, once you clear those averages, you could maybe go into a 17 from there. If we were going off the highs, you'd be at about 12%. Okay, so that's so that's a bunch of breakouts. Those were all from January, so you can see how they played out, which ones worked, which ones didn't. Okay, so there's one item in the chat. Let's take a look at SQ for the chat. Okay, block structure. So let's take a look at the monthly first. So block, obviously, this was a big winner back here. Consolidation, second run, topped out around 250. It's been a downtrend since then. Then we had this monthly reversal down here. Changes personality. You also had these bars here, but they didn't really take out any of the tracking averages. So it looks like block changed November, end of November. Okay. We go back to the weekly. So that would have been. So here's the November move. And then it takes out. So this week's move took out these highs. you could almost take this as a cup and handle. So that breakout looks pretty good. Let's go to daily. Okay, so gapped up, but couldn't quite hold the high. And finishes near the end of the high of the bar. You got massive volume though. And I think on any pullback, that's what you'd look for now. You'd want to look for a slight pullback on this or tightness for an entry. So I probably would wait a couple of days to see how this reacts. So it always pays to wait about 3 days just to see what's going on. But clearly there's a trend change here going on. Again, unlike a stock like this, obviously wouldn't have screened through unless you're looking for turnarounds and stuff, or you're looking for something with enormous volume. So volume screen would have picked this up. But with momentum stocks, most people are focused on those that are already in established uptrends and looking for the trend to continue. So that by definition, that's kind of what momentum is. Okay, so that covers 10D buys and sells, breakouts. Let's move on, take a look at best performing picks. Let's take a look at best performing picks. In fact, right, so this, okay, so in fact, one of them we already looked at, which was power. So that was the most recent one, and I'll post a video on this today. So let's go on to take a look at the trade desk. So these, the best performing picks are, so we have a process where people share their watch lists on a weekly basis and upload it to a website, and all this is freely available. And then collectively, so that creates the crowdsourced list, and then we'll take a look at from that list, usually between 80 to 100 stocks posted on a weekly basis, to see which stock performed the best for that week. So that means somebody would have had it on their list, and they were looking at it, and could be more than one person. And then they would have. So that's how it gets onto the list to begin with, and then they would have They would have seen their stock move. So the prior week somebody had TTD, and so they would have had it at the end of this week because they would have put the list in on the weekend, and then the following week the stock moved about 23%, 24%. So this was a strong breakout out of this downtrend channel for sure. And stocks come in. Now you got an inside week, and that kind of daily. Okay, so finishes in the middle here, drops down to supports. So holding that support. So possibly, if it can hold that 80 level, that might be a place to enter TTD, which is not cancel entry, but these stocks are actually designed to be bought off pullbacks. Not designed, I mean, that's the best way to play them, I should say. So we had ANET was on a stock to watch. Let's have a look at another one, NET net. So net would have been here. And the breakout 31, then it's pulled back in. So here's the pullback on NET. So let's go to the daily. And that's what you want to watch for on these, right? And you want to watch for these pullbacks. And so you could have bought this on this day, 21st, Wednesday. as an entry point and start building a position. So this one is in play. We'll do so on the best performing stocks. Then each week there's a video, a brief video that goes out from the YouTube channel. And then you can see all the videos listed there, right? And then you just look for a pullback opportunity to get into these. And sometimes that's a better way to play than the breakouts, because you may not get the breakout, and then you've got chances of getting whipped. Like if you had bought this, even on the breakout. So if you bought this gap up on the open here, you would have closed down for the day. Next day you'd be down 4%. Third day you'd be down 9%. Now you'd be below your 7-8% sell rule, and that you probably would have exited. Next day the stock bounced, and then you're kicking yourself. And then next day the stock's down again, then you sigh of relief back to 8, and then further, and then you're thinking you're glad to have gone out. Now the stock's down almost 15%, and then the stock starts to move up here. But it would have been better to have bought down here instead of being knocked down at 8%. You'd be in the game here at 3% up with a small position. So that's the way to play these best performing picks, because that's a real good gold mine. And if you're not participating in the weekly routine, you can just send me an email or message. I can add you to it. Let's take a look at one more. Let's take a look at one more. So fix was from 0205. And all of these are date stamped in the videos, right? So you can see them where they were, what I've said. So it would have been here. And this had a big earnings beat to us, up 31% already. So this one didn't offer any pullbacks. Let's have a look. Oh, 0205. Yeah. You got a 3-day pullback here. But that's right. That's going right into earnings, so you wouldn't have bought that. You get a little pullback here. That probably wasn't enough. So on this one, really the breakout, this little breakout here was the entry. And somebody had this on there. And this is another one that we've discussed multiple times last year. So you can see all of these markups are from previous reviews. And this one's been featured on a couple of different videos as well. Okay, so that's some of the best performing picks. Let's take a look at next agenda item. Let's look at the momentum stocks, and then we'll look at the market. Okay, so let's have a look. Maybe take a look at some momentum stocks that you all are looking at first. Anyone looking at something, maybe something from your watch lists? Well, I guess we have to have a conversation about NVIDIA, right? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I mean, that's a lot of accumulation of NVIDIA after this breakout. Now there's a video I'd put out on NVIDIA, giving a 420 buy point. So you can check the video out. And there were plenty of times to get it because this week. So it's like 7 weeks that you could have picked up NVIDIA sub 420. And if you had, you're up about 75% already off of that. If you had bought it off the breakout, that's this week here, around 523, you're up 50%. Now, obviously, buying it up here is a little tough, and it's in a very strong uptrend right now. However, you have this big wide bar, and that was obviously earnings related because it moved quite a bit. So we'll have to see what NVIDIA does. I mean, you can see the relative strength is like superb. I mean, this thing is almost like a moonshot. There's a lot of debate around this stock as to if valuation is overvalued, is it fairly valued, and but it's the talk of the town, and you're either in it or you're wishing you were in it. So look at MCI, which we briefly looked at earlier. So here you are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in Caniston, there is a 5-week accumulation rule, which means you can buy after a strong run. So you would have bought here, and to the top of that bar, you have 45%. So this is starting to look a bit climactic here. Your last base is way back here. It's so up almost, it got well above 200%. We had a big drop, and then this is obviously back to NVIDIA, NVIDIA's earning here, and then market.friday. So it's getting so the other thing here to notice, this is now getting sloppy. So we're getting wide ranging bars on high volume, and like, this is the highest it traded. It's the biggest bar for a while on a sell bar. Now you got gaps, and this here looks nothing like this move here. So we've got a potential personality change in SMCI. So if you're in it, you need to manage your position pretty well. Okay. Are there any particular stocks you guys want to look at? Momentum.
Parmesan, I don't really have a momentum stock per se, but I do have a question with regard to that.
Mhm.
My screens, I'm still screening using the rules we set up during our
Boot camp.
boot camps, which I'm missing momentum stocks pretty much, except that I do look at the leaders list and I screen against those and look at those as well as the best performing stocks like SMCI and stuff like that. But I don't. What happens is when I go through and I look at these stocks, they may be really good momentum, but they don't meet the criteria as being investable. For instance, if you go look at net and you look at its criteria, you'll see, Cloudflare has, no, I mean, the ROE is negative,
Mhm.
and I would never invest in it based on
Right.
what we did in boot camp.
Yeah.
And, so how do you know when to invest in a momentum stock that's running negative on almost all of the major indices? I mean, there's no quality, there's no growth, there's no earnings,
Mhm.
and the ROE is negative 26, and so on and so forth. And so I just throw those out because I don't want to take the risk there. They're just don't look like a good company to me when I'm doing my screens. How do you know to invest in it?
Okay. So, it's a good question. Personally, yeah, you know the philosophy from the boot camp, right? So basically, I would not myself put any. I wouldn't invest. So let's differentiate investing and in trading, right? So definitely would not invest in it, and if there was no path to profitability, so look at financials because it's just too risky. So there's other things you can do. Like, okay, so you look at sales 431, 656, 975, 1, 2 trading 12 months. So obviously the sales growth is there. The cost of revenue is moving up. Okay, gross profits are 335, 989. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But this is where they're burning money. So you need to understand. Then you have to look at cash flow. So free cash flow. So they've turned positive here on cash flow. So that's one of the things with this little trick, right? This is worth gold to you now. On companies like this, that once they, especially with IPOs, or once they flip to positive cash flow, and the cash flow that they're generating. So here's like these are probably in thousands, right? Yeah, thousands. So this one's like under 19 million. We go back to the income statement. So not quite there. So the cash isn't quite there to cover this year, but it's getting there. So once you start to see a lot of houses will use that as flips, as a switch to start getting more excited about it. So this is on the cut, even though it's negative overall. I still probably, if I was to do it, this would be a trade, and I would not want to invest long term because there's no quality, and companies that have quality typically have 5 years worth of trading behind them. Let's just see how long has this been trading. Maybe it's got, this is a partial year, so let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is kind of the 5th year. So they're right on the verge of getting enough data to look at this. But I mean, yeah, you set your rules and you got to abide by them, which means you're gonna by choice not participate in some stuff, right? But because right now it's moved up and it's looking, oh my god, I missed out, right? But look at this over here. If you had bought this earlier, you'd be sitting through all of this, and that's because there's no prosperity at this stage. Now we've got a technical. Some of this is going to be technical. The next level is going to be here. But I would wait. I mean, I would personally wait to see the numbers improve, and if they're losing money, they better be making enough cash to cover it. And then you go look at all the other financials as well, and it takes all its time. So they did post a positive quarter, so they've flipped on that.
So what indices do you use what indice do you use to determine that it is a tradable momentum stock? I mean, we looked at DraftKings; it's running with a negative ROE of 74, and I'm like, I wouldn't trade that. But obviously, some people are, and they're using it as a trade, not necessarily an investment. So, what indice do you use? 4 weeks in a row or 5 weeks in a
No.
row of up?
No,
Is that
those are more
a
technical.
momentum
You have
stock or what?
No, you have to look at the fundamentals. So the fundamentals decide whether how you're going to how you're going to play it, right? So is it a quick? Are you looking for a quick 20% move, right? So if there's no conviction because there's no financials, there's no quality, it goes into the trading camp. If there's history and there's quality of financials and you have conviction in the stock, then you can think about trying to hold that stock for a longer period. But there are very good stock momentum stocks. Let's look at DEC, for example. And so this is what you want your momentum stocks to really look like. You want a smooth trend. You want an opportunity for a little consolidation pullback if you missed it, and then here's your entry, and then it moves up. Then you got a slight opportunity here. This is earnings, but if you look at the numbers on DEC, everything looks hunky dory. Let me bring up DEC.
Yeah, DEC looks good on the fundamentals.
Yeah,
And ROE is 37, stuff
right.
like that.
Yeah,
And so
but
it's
remember,
on my watch list. But
but remember, a lot of the people are using the IBD lists, right? They're basically taking their stocks off the IBD lists. IBD lists don't necessarily discern whether the company's making money because they're looking at just the growth percentage. So if they lost less money this quarter than the prior quarter, the stock's going to show a growth percentage. And if that's more than 25%, for example, for the quarter, hey, that's good enough for that. And that's why a large part of like CanSlim is all based on take most profits at 20% and then go on to look for the next one, because the chances are the stock's going to correct. And the reason it's going to correct is because of volatility, right? Because it doesn't have super strong support behind it. So if we look at, so this one could be making operating income. It's all positive, yeah, right? 889 million. If we look at that cash flow, because I mean the difference between trading and investing is if you don't look at the numbers, and a lot of people don't because it is challenging for many. If you don't look at the numbers, then you have to work off the technicals, right? Which means you better have stop losses in place. You better have a good set of rules in place, and you're going to have a lot of whipsaws and stop and get stopped out, and you cannot then you'll be challenged in sitting through the first corrections and stuff like that. If you read Bill's book, he talks about in order to get a big winner, you have to be able to sit through the first or second correction. And if that correction is going to be 25-35%, that's a lot. And so you really have to feel good about what you're getting into. For most people, that's going to be not enough. See that with the cash flow here, right? You look at the cash flows on DEC. So the numbers here are just a lot stronger. However, go back and let's look at the balance sheet as well. That's the other piece. You got to have a strong balance sheet. So total assets 2.5. Total debt. Total liabilities. Yeah, see, I mean, the assets way surpass the total liabilities. So this, I mean, then it's got a healthy balance sheet. So now the problem with stocks like DEC is unless they're on your high conviction list, and you're watching and you're tracking them, which is why the other thing is that your watch list should not be thrashing on a week-to-week basis, right? it should, I mean, for the most part, the watch list that you have should be fairly consistent week in, week out. And you're gonna get the occasional moves adjusted. Like the watch list that I have, I think I have 71 stocks on it, but it's hardly changed in the last 3 to 6 months. There's a friend of mine, and maybe we'll go there next in a minute, but and we'll take a look at his watch list. And then, and because he doesn't know it, but he kind of performs like a leader's basket, but he uses more macro, and it doesn't use charts at all. Well, actually, I might just turn that into a video. Okay, it's at it's 10 o'clock already. All right, so let me see. I think we are at the end of this. What's in chat? This question about cryptos and the crypto ETFs. You know, in the past, I've traded GBTC, but I'm not really looking at crypto. It's not an area that I really understand. And if I was to play it, I would only use some funny money to play this. I mean, crypto got a boost after the announcement of the ETFs and to trade it. Coin, well, I think with coins come up in discussions a number of times. So it's actually, I remember when it was around 400. Let me bring it up. Was it around 400, 200, 300, 400? Yeah, 400. Here it is. So this has been under discussion since the stock's been trading around 400, and then it dropped down to 30. Jesus, that's a wow. That's a 92% drop from there. It's recovered somewhat. That's a 400% move from there. So everything about the stock is 400, right? And this one, I think they're still looks like they're profitable now. Revenue growth dropped last quarter. Change in revenues. Yeah, see, I mean, to me, so there's there's another thing to factor in. So you've got key takeaways from today, right? So you have to know whether this is a stock that you have high conviction in, which you can look at to get in, maybe play it for past the capital gains rules of and trying to hold that for more than 12 months. And then there are 5 or 6 quarters ideally, right? Which is where you're going to get the big payoff. Or it's a stock that is just a trade, and then you really have to lean on your technical rules, right? Like stop losses have to be in place and stuff like that. And your fundamentals of, and you just have to be disciplined with your fundamentals, right? And say, if I want higher quality, you may miss out on. You got to then discard some of these other things, right? Until they get to that point. So, for example, let's have a look at ServiceNow. So, ServiceNow was a big stock. This is the monthly. ServiceNow is a big stock, but it was negative for a while because it was in high growth. That's the other thing with these young companies, right? But once ServiceNow became profitable, that's when it really started to take off. And you'll notice this with a whole bunch of them. And some of these high-flying stocks or potentially high-flying stocks are still not positive. I think Mongo databases is another one, which is still, I believe, is still not profitable. Yeah, they still posted a negative last quarter in their EPS, 41 cents. Team, which is another potentially big stock for the future, still posting a negative. earnings quarters. So IPOs and young stocks inside of 5 years, like in my case, right? So I have a time differentiation. If the stock has been trading less than 5 years, I treat it differently. If the stock has been trading beyond 5 years, then I categorize it into two buckets. One is quality and non-quality. And then that's how I kind of filter my decision making as to what I do with it. The most of the stuff in the leaders basket is just pure price momentum, right? Because that's what's moving, and you want price to move for the leaders basket to move. But it's at the end of the day, you also have to know everyone has a different experience set and comes to this with different risk profiles, and some people have large amounts of money to play with, and others don't, right? So you have to take all of that into consideration to say, what are you comfortable with? How much are you willing to lose? Because it's the risk management that's important, right? First and foremost. And SGSG, the SGSG portfolio, mostly there's nothing to do most of the time, right? Because it's just those are high quality stocks. But there's a lot of work behind the scenes in looking at the numbers, looking at their financial reports, looking at the news items, looking at trends, looking at competition, to see, do I want to stay with this, and when does the merry-go-round stop? But those are multi-year plays. Okay, so I think we're over. So if there's a couple of more questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, I think we'll start closing down. Yeah, the janitor story, know that well. Okay. Last call, going once, going twice. Okay, then let's close out here, and then we'll do this again soon. And then if anybody's not participating in the weekly cycle and you want to just reach out, and you can be set up to do that. And it's all free. And they'll probably try and do a meeting every other month. All right then. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.